For joining the Business Showcase Drip Zone. We here with my good friend Crispo Paul, Sir Crispo Paul, who is one of the owners here in the Houston City area in the West University. Um, Today we're going to be telling Chris Paul he's a French American, owns a French American restaurant, reflecting on his personal journey and the evolution of the restaurant industry in the U.S. And practically, the insights into this industry is running a successful French catering for over 25 years. Conventional covers Christophe a background business philosophy, operational strategy, and customer relations, and an industry that challenges providing wealth from a real world of examples and advice for aspiring restaurant owners. So listen, thank you and for joining us, and we want to welcome my good friend Chris Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well.
Awesome.
How you say it?
As always, I love it. Man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk with me. You know, I've been in this community at West University and sitting down the sidewalk with my friends. And one of the things that always arrested my attention was the aroma and the flavor of your food. And so listen, man, thank you so much. So for the audience who's listening to us, go ahead and introduce yourself, Christophe, and tell us a little bit about who you are and what made you decide to go into the restaurant.
I would say actually, I don't know exactly. I was not from background of restaurant. So when I was young, my mom was in real estate business. She had an expertise in real estate, townhouses. That's what I grew up with. Then when I was basically turned 19, I had my friends, and I just wanted to see something else. I needed to see the world, what's out there, and just back then was the first opportunity I gave up. That's how I came. Then I met my wife. Her parents were and in short, basically my cousin.
Wow, so you was the age of 19 years old
When I first came, yes.
when you first came to the US.
Yeah.
Wanted to see the world, wanted to experience something new, something different.
That's right.
I mean, what great aspiration and audacity at 19 to go across the world to a new country, no family, right?
No.
No friends.
No, but I quickly made some.
Yeah.
It's the friends that I still have to this day, in fact.
You got out of your comfort zone and you decide, I want to see what's out here for
I
me.
mean, yes, and yeah, I mean, I did, yes, but what I went through was, easier than so many people. Yes, there is a culture shock, but it is nowhere as someone coming from, either South America or Asia, and where you have, even the alphabet is different.
Right.
Now those are true culture shocks. So what I went through, yes, it was a bit of an adjustment, obviously, but I think, all in all, anyone coming from Europe has it, more easily, it's easily adapt, I think.
Sure.
If you don't adapt easily, that problem is you.
Yeah. So you come from a town called Bordeaux?
Okay, so yes, Bordeaux, which is the big town around, is the fifth or sixth now. I think it's the sixth largest town, or city rather, in France. But I actually grew up in a little hamlet with about 150 people.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I came from.
Wow.
Originally,
Yeah.
about roughly 30 miles west of Bordeaux.
So what would you say was that drive, Christophe, that really inspired you to go on this sojourner experience, this journey?
I don't know, curiosity, I guess. I mean, it's the world it's a big place, but it's not all that big after all, especially in today's term. You travel from Houston to Paris, it's about mere 10 hours. Yes, it is a big trip, but it's not that big of a trip.
Yes.
I mean, take even 30 years ago was a bigger trip. 60 years ago was a huge trip, and 100 or so years ago, imagine how much of how that was an experience.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, I think originally was just trying to figure out what was out there.
Sure.
And I ended up in Houston really because it was the first opportunity that came up, and I took it because I was afraid that nothing else would come up. I didn't have much money. I wasn't poor or anything, but I didn't have a whole lot of money to go and just travel the world just for me and by myself. So I took that one originally to study, which
So
That was
let's
finished
talk
with.
about that. Let's talk about very briefly
Yeah.
about that preparation process. So I know you didn't just wake up one day and say, "I'm out of here. I'm on my way to America and
No.
take flight." Right? There was some kind of
That's-
preparation, obviously.
not all that much.
Really.
No,
So talk
I
talk a
mean,
little
at
bit about
least
that.
not for me. No, I did, and after my high school diploma, I just wanted to travel. Wasn't really keen on staying and keep on studying with what they were offering in France. And when I found out what I could do here in Houston, yeah, I was like, that's a no-brainer for me. So I mean, the decision was made not overnight, but very quickly. Coming to Houston was overnight.
Okay.
Leaving France, that's a few weeks maybe. Yeah, not that much.
Really.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something. It's some trips I guess you have to prepare for. That one I didn't all that much. It's I don't know. I guess it came more naturally than expected, maybe.
I think that's an amazing drive and response to um, being 19, going into an unfamiliar place, unknown area, not country, no friends, no family, and but yet have the mitigated gall to say the world is big, but it's not that big,
Yeah.
and go and tackle it. I think so many people have been stifled in familiar and comfortable places, which I think suffocates sometimes.
And I totally understand that. I think the vast majority of people, want to stick to their roots and to what they know, and that's fine. Most of the world would rather be where they grew up. Most of the people in the world would rather be where they grew up. Back in the 90s when France, well, Europe opened up its frontier, and you literally could, go from France to Spain. There's no more frontier. You could go work in Spain, you could live in Spain, and vice versa. You could do that in Germany. The Germans could come to France, and so on and so forth. There was a huge scare back then where people, especially the Eastern European countries, which had seen, the Russian bloc for such a long time, a lot of Western European were very afraid that all of these opened up countries now would storm into Occidental Europe. I remember very vividly my family saying, "Well, you'll see the Poles are going to invade Western Europe because they had been oppressed for so many years, right?" No, that never happened. I think altogether back then there was something like 800,000 Poles, scattered throughout Western Europe. 4 million Brits scattered throughout Europe. So you have an influx of people
Right.
that creates. Yes, there are some people that do want to try their luck somewhere else, but the vast majority of people would rather stay where they are
Yeah.
because they're quite happy there and are too scared to leave either or.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Awesome. So you came here and you got to this huge country,
Yeah.
this strange land,
Of
and
course.
so I understand that you decided to go to school, become a student.
That's what originally I was here for. Yeah, I was
Okay.
originally here to perfect my English. I took it in this English class over at U of H back in the days.
Universities.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did that for 6 months. I was supposed to be only here for 6 months.
Okay.
But after 6 months, I was actually, I'd made friends and I was happy here and I liked it. And I was offered to study industrial psychology, which I never finished. But, so I was doing this, and I studied also a little bit at Houston Community College. Studies was not very my forte anyway. I've never really been a big fan. I would have been a bit bored at thinking that. So maybe that's why I wanted to travel over a bit, being bored
Sure.
where you are.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, Christoph, wh- how did it evolve into the restaurant industry, where you decided that that's your space, that's where you wanted to plant your stake in and you wanted to make a go of it?
Well, I when first got back eventually to the US, I decided that obviously I needed a job, so I first started to have a job selling wine. Which the funny thing is, didn't know much about wine back then. It's somewhere in the early '90s, but people hired me because I was French, and they thought that I must know wine. I mean, I'm French, must know wine, correct?
Yeah.
Uh, Not true. Absolutely not. No, it's you know what I always say. The average French man or woman knows as much about wine as the average Texan knows about cattle. We just don't. The vast majority of my friends don't have the first clue of what they're drinking when
I'm a
they're
case study. I know nothing about cattle.
drinking. Exactly. Yes. And why should you, for that matter?
Right.
It's not because you were born here that
Exactly.
you have to be an expert.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
So yeah, I ended up selling wine, and I fell in love with wine. I even somewhat wrote a book about it, and then eventually I also was managing at the same time, because I was not making enough money selling wine, because I was never really that good of a salesman. So I was managing a ice cream parlor type of deal back then. And then when I met my wife, my in-laws eventually hired me, because one day I created an Excel spreadsheet for them to manage their wine inventory. And somehow they put me into, I was sommelier back there at the restaurant. They had a very famous French restaurant back in the days called Chez Georges. And then from being sommelier, eventually became, a manager and managed one of their restaurants. And then I figured, if my wife and I actually were married then, I figured, if we're going to put this kind of hours,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard work, because it was hard work at the beginning. Might as well do it for ourselves. So,
So obviously you had a love for it.
yes.
Yes. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting in with us. This is the Business Showcase Drip Zone. We're so happy to have you. And we're here at the restaurant with my good friend Christoph Paul. So
Just say
Christoph
Chris.
Paul.
Just say Chris. It's easier.
And so, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Listen, subscribe, follow, and stay tuned, because we got more information coming back to you. Hello. Stop scrolling. Your tax refund could be bigger than what you think. Right here at Connect Finances, we don't just do filing, but we help maximize returns. We help business owners, we help W 2 employees, we help gig workers, even if you're self employed, or even if you're a waitress, work as a barber shop, beauty shop, we can help you also get a maximize your refund. All you have to do is just hit the button below, and you're going to follow that link, connectfinances.com, and you'll get that fast refund just as you deserve it, and you will get it fast. Until then, I talk to you then, and I'll see you at the top. Have a great day. We're here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us. I am your boy, Dr. Carl Matthews, and I'm appreciate you rather for you sticking with us here on the Business Showcase Drip, where we bring value to business owners here and everywhere. Listen, we have my good friend Chris who's here, and we'll continue to talk about his journey from France to US of A as a 19-year-old, and we were just talking about, Chris, about how you came into the industry, the restaurant industry, and you started dealing with wines, right? Different
Yes.
wines, okay? And how you differentiate that, to assume that just because you're French and sell French wine means you know about it. No more than I live in Texas and eat steak, but I know cattle, right? I know nothing about it.
Exactly, yes.
Yes.
It's a common misconception. It's funny, because to this day, if we have a table at this restaurant and there's say 10 people and one of them is French, he's invariably going to be the one that ends up with the wine list. Not necessarily because he asked for it, sometimes they do, but not necessarily that. But everyone else, all the other 9 people are always going to look at him and say, hey, you're French, you take care of the wine, Yeah, and they don't. Yeah. So you and your wife got into the industry, so y'all, got into wine business, you managing a restaurant, you Yes.
learn about the business,
Yes.
and then you all made the decision that you were going to Do what? What was the next step from there?
So the next step was to build a bistro, which we did. We ended up having a small place, which the original location was a couple of blocks north from here, where the house we're building is right now.
Sure.
And the space was about as big as this. It looked smaller because it was over a couple of stories. There was a mezzanine there. It looked a little bit different. And we were there for 4 years. When we first opened, we had nothing.
Okay.
We put most of our investment on credit cards, and we opened with $25,000.
Wow.
The bank refused us the loan because it was not serious to open a restaurant with $25,000.
Yes, sir.
And but we did. Somehow we did. We found the spot, and back then the landlord trusted us, which I still don't know why, because we came in to see them, and I mean they didn't know us, we didn't know them. We just found this spot and they said, okay, fine, yeah, go ahead and do it. But so the landlord did believe in us,
Right.
and we did, and we opened it up, and we've been lucky so far.
So
25 years on, yeah.
okay. So with your experience as a manager, owner, well not owner, but operating a cafe, or wine, what have you, what were the essential takeaways that you can share with other restaurant owners or aspire to become restaurant owners that your takeaway that helped you launch to give you the sustainability for 25 years?
So, surprisingly, in 25 years, things have changed drastically. Right? I don't think I would not advise right now what we did, and the reason I wouldn't is because without knowing it, because you always think you have the right idea, or you always think you do everything right. But in all honesty, we did everything wrong.
Okay.
The wrong way. We did get lucky because we managed to find a spot without really knowing either. We managed to open what I think people around the village wanted, where they wanted, when they wanted it, which was a simple French, non-pretentious bistro. And I think that was our luck right there.
What they wanted,
When they wanted it,
and how they wanted it.
basically, yes.
Yeah.
And then even then we got that wrong.
So, and which leads me quick to, I mean, by default, sounds like I'm hearing
Yes.
that by default, you just kind of figured that the bistro approach would be the need for the audience in this location.
Yes, and actually, so it's even it's actually worse than this really. But we thought a cafe would was what we could do first and what people would want. And to put this into perspective, very often in the U.S. we don't make the differentiation between a bar, a bistro, a cafe, restaurants, and so on and so forth. And in France it is. If I tell you in France, hey, meet me tonight at 6 p.m. At this cafe, without really being able to describe, but you're gonna know how to dress up and what to expect. If I tell you we're going to this bistro, then you're also gonna know. If I tell you we're gonna meet you in this restaurant, you're also gonna know. And you might adapt your perspective of what you're expecting. You might adapt even your dressing, your dress code. If I tell you we're going to this restaurant, you're gonna ask me, well, is it casual? Should I dress? Should I dress up? You're never gonna ask me this if I tell you I'm gonna meet you in this cafe.
Right.
Because a cafe in France is a place where that's what you're gonna get mostly is a cafe. But there's gonna be a little bit of food.
Yeah.
Things like sandwiches or little cakes, maybe something like this.
Right.
A bistro will have a more elaborate menu, okay, with somewhat of a service.
Okay.
Some of them have full service, some have halfway service. A restaurant will have a full service, right? And a bar is basically what it is.
Sure.
It's just a bar. Don't expect any food at a bar, other than maybe in the morning they'll have a few croissants that you can have with your coffee, and that's about
Sure.
it. So we have this differentiation. You don't make this difference in the state really, and I don't think it's this deal.
Yeah.
For the longest time, you had Cafe Annie, right?
Yeah.
Cafe Annie was this very fancy restaurant,
yeah.
right? But there, to a French person going to Cafe Annie was
Right. Well, I'm thinking 25 years ago, I mean, today is a much different time, as you alluded to earlier. 25 years ago, I don't know how popular French food was or bistros were 25 years ago. So to be able to determine that this space and identify your audience and your location, I mean, I think for most business owners, I think it's very vital to understand that if you're selling barbecue and you're going to an area that loves tacos, you're in the wrong area.
Yeah, it might be a
and,
little
and you're
trickier.
probably going to get frustrated and burn out and those type of things. So, you know, there's some due diligence that has to take place
True.
before launching business, right?
I mean, I'd say yes and no in the sense that to go back to your example of opening a barbecue joint in a place where people expect mostly tacos, maybe you're also missing out a chunk of population that would enjoy barbecue and they just don't have one close by, so therefore they don't need to they don't go to a barbecue place as often.
Good point.
So, but that wasn't really a problem back then. I think what my main concern back then, or not concern, but my main take on this was people knew French food, yes, but they knew it for being this, obtuse, uptight type of place. You had to go dress up, and it was going to be expensive, and the wines were so complicated, and so on and so forth. That was the conception of French food in Houston. And it's totally wrong. If anyone who goes to Paris or anywhere in France, you'll see that most restaurants are pretty laid back, if not super laid back, right? And they're not very expensive. And that's what I wanted.
Okay.
I wanted to open something that, just like a little bistro you could find in France, or a little cafe you could find in France, something unpretentious, not very expensive, as
Something that complemented the culture that you was familiar with.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because in my entire life, I think we tried twice a 3-star Michelin, and one of them was American, actually, in New York.
Yeah.
So I've never been a big fan. It's just not my thing. I have family that just love it. They love to try all the 3 stars. They can, and that's fine. It's just not my thing. I get a lot more excited in the small places.
Yeah, you said some very powerful information, because sometimes we have limited beliefs, right? Going back to the example I gave.
Right.
However, it does not imply that you cannot bring something different that can create taste for people to acquire,
Yes.
that can enjoy, and now they have an option.
Exactly.
And people love
You know,
options.
that's
That's
how-
why buffets do so well.
That's true. That's how culture evolves, though. French food has not always been what it is.
Yeah.
We stole so many things from the various population and people that invaded France, right? Because France, if you think about it geographically, right? France is at the end of Europe. Is at the western end of Europe. When you get to France, that's it. There's pretty much nowhere else to go, right? And even going to Spain is kind of hard. Now, most invasions we've had in France came from the eastern side, right? And we've been invaded by everybody, right? In fact, I like that. There's no such a thing as the French people. You have to think about this: is that we are named French, right? We are named after a northern eastern population called the Franks.
Yeah.
They're invaders. They were invaders. They invaded from basically Germany and all this area, Poland,
Yeah, right,
Germany.
right.
They invaded France. They stuck in France, and somehow they're the ones that gave us this name, the French.
Right.
But they were not the ones there before.
Okay.
The ones that were there before were the Celts.
Yeah.
And we didn't take that name. We should have maybe, but we didn't.
Right.
So, but then we were invaded by Ostrogoths and the Visigoths and the Moors and the Saxons and the Normans and all these people, right? They all came in, and each one of them had their culture.
Yeah.
Right. And over time, that basically defined our food. If you go to the Provence area in France, which is close to Italy, you're going to have a very, very strong Italian influence in our food. We cook a lot with tomatoes. We cook a lot with bell pepper. We have pizza over there. But pastas is big over there as well. If you go to the northeast of France, where Germany is, now this is more in sauerkraut. We have sauerkraut,
Mhm.
like the German speaker love to have. We have the pork sausages, we have the potatoes, and those are really big over there, right?
Yeah.
If you go down to the southwest part of France, close to Spain, we have a lot of influence
Right.
from the Spaniards.
Yeah.
That's how culture evolves. Culture is basically the evolution of a culture. I don't care which one it is. Is you find an idea, it's like, well, that's a pretty good idea. We didn't have that before. We didn't know about this before, but that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? We got in Europe. We got potatoes, corn, tomatoes.
Mhm.
All of that came from the Americas.
Sure.
And now it's entirely part of the culture, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Wow.
that's always same thing. So to say that there is a French food, not really.
Very interesting backdrop that you're giving us in the historicity of how France was really
Yeah.
taken over, and how the different quadrants of the country have different taste buds for different flavors.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things. I remember one of the professors at Rice University who said that Houston is has become one of the most diverse cities
Yes.
in the United States.
And that's why you have so many great restaurants to go
Yeah.
back into this
Yeah,
industry.
right.
Because there's so many diversity in Houston that
Yeah.
it's a tremendous place to have a good meal.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, you heard it straight. Listen, when you come to H-Town, Houston, Texas, listen, no matter where your part of the world you're from, you'll be able to find your niche, your taste, your flavor right here in Houston, Texas.
Absolutely.
And we're still growing fast. And we love the diversity.
That's the best part of this.
That's the best part.
This is the reason why I fell in love with the city.
Yes.
This is the reason why I stayed here for so long, for that matter.
So one of the key insights, let's talk about this real quick because we don't have a lot of time. I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much.
I'm not that busy.
We know that restaurants don't fail from bad recipes, right? Not completely.
They do sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's usually that's not the big problem.
It's usually what?
Usually it's not the main problem.
That's not the main problem.
I mean, you do have, just like everything, every business has
Yeah.
the good part and the bad part, right?
Sure.
But no, I don't think food. I've seen a lot of really good restaurants go out of business, and I've seen a lot of really bad restaurants that are still open.
So so no business ever just incline with a trend of success and never have success, right? What would you recommend to business owners to being able to do a deduction to identify if there is a problem that arises in the restaurant business? No, because $25,000 is not a whole lot of money, right?
No, even back then.
And so to
I don't think I could do it again though.
of course, to start a business for $25,000 and come up with a concept and say, well, at least you know what you want though. You knew you wanted a bistro. You knew you wanted something that was at a marginal, competitive price, affordable,
Yeah.
and food that tastes good. At least you had that down pat, right? But then, you come in an area to be able to, we just don't know if we're going to capture our audience, right? We don't know how business is going to be from one day to the next. So,
And that you never do.
what are some of your experiences you may have had where you had maybe some setbacks or some hiccups that you did to adjust and recover to prevent bellows?
So it's to me, I think that the real secret behind this is numbers. Right? I've always, from the moment I understood that you could make money and still lose money at the same time. Meaning by that is you could be very, very busy and somehow your bank account is draining, right? When I first found this out, that's when I figured, okay, this is the key part. And the second or third, or even sometimes the first key part is accounting, right? Is where is the money going? Where are you losing money, right?
Yes.
Because the ups and downs, it's not if, it's when.
Right.
And particularly in a city like Houston, it can happen all the time. You have, what's the name? Hurricanes, for example. Hurricanes is we've had now freeze lately, right?
Yes.
I've had restaurants closing for 2 weeks, So things are always going to happen.
Sure.
So you need to be able to survive that.
As we say, life be life.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I mean, this is what you said. Life is what happens when
Yeah.
you're making other plans.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, it's. But in the end, for me, it's always been that. It's always been the number game, basically.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now another key element, and we're gonna touch that when we come back from this short break. And hey guys, thank you. Please follow, subscribe, hit that, smash that button right now. Stay with us. Put your questions in the DM. And listen, we have the expert that's right here. He can share his experience. And this is the kind of practical experience you don't get in the classroom, in the shelf class, but actually living it, loving it, and enjoying it. We'll be right back. Hello. Stop scrolling. Your tax refund could be bigger than what you think. Right here at Connect Finances, we don't just do filing, but we help maximize returns. We help business owners, we help W-2 employees, we help gig workers, even if you're self-employed, or even if you're a waitress, work as a barber shop, beauty shop, we can help you also get a maximize your refund. All you have to do is just hit the button below, and then you're going to follow that link, connectfinances.com, and you'll get that fast refund just as you deserve it, and you will get it fast. Until then, I talk to you then, and I'll see you at the top. Have a great day. We're here. And I will get, I think 12 of them Boudin sticks for like $6. And I sold them for, I believe I sold them for like $20. Yeah. So I treat my money, right? Or you take a bag of beans that cost you $1.50 for an example. But you know, you can get what?
However many portions,
Yeah, right, exactly. So in my mind, that number kind of resonated with me, 30% return on my costs, right?
It is the golden number in the restaurant industry, and it's not always for like, you know, we don't do this number here. You know, I'm happy at 34, 35. I'm actually super happy. I don't expect it, particularly in today's current economy situation where the cost of living has gone so high.
So in that percentage that we're talking about, we're talking about acquisition or purchasing of wine, replenishing wine.
Yes.
We're talking about paying staff. We're talking about re-upping with your food supply. We're talking about seasonings. We're talking about silverware and all of that. So even with yourself, that covers?
No, not the 30%. I mean, it's supposed to, but ideally, right, that those, you know, 30 times over, the remaining 60% or 66, you know, 70%, make it simple, is supposed to cover all of that, right? And plus that net profit within should be somewhere in there, correct? But it seems like there's plenty to cover it, and there's not. Rents nowadays have gotten, you know, crazy expensive for surface area, particularly in areas like this. And insurance cost is very high. And you know, there's everything else that you don't expect. Electricity is costly in this country. Water is costly also as well. And you have everything else. And I spend about, you know, $5,000-$6,000 just glassware with breakage. And then you have people stealing, like tiny little coffee spoon that's, you know,
Wow.
Yeah, no idea how fast they disappear. And
You go to their house, they got a pair of your stuff.
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we have, you know, I bought some really nice steak knives from France. They were super cool because they're the traditional country knife. Every peasant, you know, has this little opinel they're called. Right. I bought, the first time I bought some, I was super happy about it. It's gonna be cool, you know, when we have the meat, the ribeye, like this little French on top of it. I think I bought 24, and something like 3 weeks later they were gone. People stop. Wow. People stop. And then you breakage, you know, you have all this machinery, the fridge and all that thing, particularly in summertime.
Yeah.
That always breaks down.
So with that cost, so you know you have your general rule
Yes.
of what you want your profit margin to be. And then you have your general rule, what you want your net to be, and you're comfortable with it. So how does that affect your purchase of your food, and even price of your food, and the quality of food that you put on the menu for your consumers?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For example, lately, we've stopped selling Raglan simply because I think we had to sell our portion of Raglan for something like $60-something, and we were still not making up 3 times the margin. And we're not a fancy restaurant. This is just a bistro, and I'm not comfortable selling things that are so expensive. You know, I guarantee you right now in Paris, you can have a whole meal for $60.
How much?
For $60, you can have a whole meal, not just one dish, for a whole meal. You
For
can have
60?
For 60, absolutely. In Paris, in many places,
Okay.
many places. And it drives me crazy when things are getting so expensive, you know. And the only reason the ribeye is the same thing. The only reason I keep on doing the ribeye is because I think if I stop the ribeye, I think I'm gonna get shot in the parking lot by somebody. Because and I've raised the prices again not too long ago, and I still don't make the 30%, but it's fine. I make enough. I'm okay with what percentage we're making right now. But we're closer to 40% on the ribeye cost, right? Which is very, very.
Which is a good number. Oh, that's
No,
good.
it's not a bad business. Anybody should tell you, don't do that. But sometimes, you don't really have a choice. Like, okay, I'm not going to make my margin on this, and it's okay because I'll find a way to make it somewhere else. So then, you can do it on maybe chicken or do a pasta dish. Those are a lot less costly, right? So you can offset your balance and then try to keep your overall menu. But sometimes it's hard because if I have, say, a 40% cost, say ribeye, for instance, and I have a 25% cost on pasta, that's great, right?
Yeah.
As long as you sell the equivalent of each. The problem is for 20 ribeye sold, you might sell 2 pastas. So you have to find a dish that not only makes you money, but is also popular. Because every menu has a more popular dish. Right?
Okay.
So it's
So how do you test market that though? I mean, so let's say if you're a restaurant and you got something you want to upsell cost or add more volume to your menu without increasing the main course price. How do you incorporate that? How do you upsell that?
That's when you sit down with the chef. And, what we'll do is usually instead of doing sample, we'll try stuff between ourselves. But usually what we'll do first is we'll feature it as a special, and we'll have we'll run a special for a week maybe, and then at the end of the week, then we can look at our POS, point of sale system.
POS meaning
Point of sale, which is
Okay.
basically it's all those news. I mean, they're not new anymore, but the softwares that helps you keep track of everything from what you've sold, how many you've sold, the hours of your employees, to the frequency of your customers, and so on and so forth. And then that also tells you how many dishes you've sold, of any given time period. You can go back and look at this week we've sold so many of that, and so many of that, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that allows
That's a
me
great tool.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, that allows me to segue into my next area of concern. Consistency in systems is a very unsexy secret, right?
It's the most difficult thing.
However, how do you ensure the same quality every day?
You don't
with every shift. And what do they do for you? When you talk about the POS,
Yeah.
because I think at the end of the day, I see many food trucks, and I don't know what they use. You talked about Square or a processing payment system, and I'm sure it has some features that allow you to, show you what you sold for the day. How important is it for the end of the day or end of the week? What is your methodology of analyzing your trend, uptrend, upsell, or profit?
So, it's if I put a dish out there, right? There's a couple of things I'm going to do. Is obviously I'm going to look at the end of I don't know. Say we try it for a month.
Yeah.
Say, okay, we're going to try this dish for a month. See if people like it. What response we have, and if we have a good response, maybe we'll put it in the menu.
No, let's not move too fast.
Yeah.
Because that's very, very key. So you have an idea.
Yes.
You're launching into the marketplace with your customers. You try for a month. It's like a tester.
Exactly.
If it works, you extend it. Because if it's not broke, don't fix it.
True. And then we may have a great response to it, and we still may not put it on the menu. And that really depends on many things.
So it becomes a special item.
So exactly, it will become a special item that may. A perfect example, for example, for that would be the soft shell crab. The reason we don't have soft shell crab here on a yearly basis is simply because it's in season, right?
It's
and
what?
it's on season.
Okay.
So and it's about to show up now soon, and the rest of the year, if you're going to have social crop all throughout the year, they're going to be frozen. You're not going to get fresh something.
I don't be fresh.
So at Woods, you can if you want to have it all year round. There's ways around this, but
But you want
For me,
fresh. You don't want-
I'd rather have fresh. Yes,
Yeah.
you don't always have fresh. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single restaurant, at least that I know of, that can have everything fresh.
Yeah.
There's some particular items that are nearly impossible to get fresh, and it's fine. Some items are quite fine frozen, which is always going to be better fresh, but I guarantee there's some items out there that are doing quite well frozen.
You know, one thing for me as a consumer who love good dining, good food, good price points, on what I'm spending, I love consistency.
Yes.
Because if food is consistency, I know what I'm going to get, and what that means for a business owner like you in the restaurant business or any business is that when you have consistency, you have repeat business.
True.
Do you agree with that?
And absolutely. And it's by far the hardest. You can thrive, right? You can aspire to consistency. You're never going to get it. I don't care who you are, what restaurant it is. And it's also, that's a lot of people, I sometimes get these type of email. We've been coming to your restaurant for 10 years plus. Last time will be the last time, my meat was overcooked, whatever it is, right? And these are the most hurtful you can ever get, because you're thinking, okay, so you come for 10 years where everything obviously was good enough for you to come back for 10 years.
Yeah.
The one time we mess up.
Right.
The one time we mess up, and that's,
One time.
it's like, what does it say about, friendship?
Absolutely.
So and I've done this, with big food restaurants, we're creatures of habits, all of us, right? So yes, when you know that there is a restaurant that's good, you tend to want to go back there, right?
Yeah.
And especially when there's this one particular dish that you can find over there nowhere else, and then you really love this one, you want to go back over there and get that one, and then very often you always get the same one. At one point or another, it's going to come out and it's not going to be your liking. Now here's a catch: it could be because the dish has been not cooked properly or not prepared, as it usually is. Here's the beauty of this industry: it's all psychological. It might just be you. You've had a particularly bad day.
Sure.
For some reason, you're just not happy.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I've had people telling me, we had this wine in France, the exact same bottle, the same vintage, but we were in France, we're trying, and it was so very good over there. It's not the same wine here. They put stuff in there.
Yeah.
No, they don't. The French are too lazy to have anything else into their wine. But you were in France, you were on vacation. Chances are you were looking at the Eiffel Tower or over by the sea.
Yeah.
Anything is going to taste like wine.
Right.
It is.
So how important is it, Chris, when it comes to community and brand positioning, right? So, is it important to chase everyone, or is it important to have relationships to where you help people in hard times?
Yeah.
The relationship helps survive the business.
So I think it does. I think repeat business is, I've always thought that repeat business pays your bill, right? Bills, rather. This is great enough. And I've never really been big on chasing customers through advertisement or such. It's never been good at this. They've never really worked for me. I've never really believed in it that much because it's nearly impossible to actually really keep track. Other than by having these little questionnaires or surveys, and that's why company does this.
Yeah.
It is, right? Because they don't really believe in the advertisement they do.
Sure.
So they still need a survey, don't they?
Right.
So, and I hate this with passion because I try to put myself in my customer's shoes as much as possible. And there's nothing that I would hate more at the end of my meal if somebody is saying, "Oh, by the way, can you fill this out for me?" No, I know I can't, but I don't want to. I'm having a good time. No, that's not happening, right? And I very rarely do this. And I I should maybe, but that's why I don't ask anything like this. And that would be the only way for me to find out what really works as advertising.
You know, one of the things that I know is that people do business with people who they know, like, and trust.
That's true.
That comes with relationship.
True.
Even if you're having a bad day as a
Yeah.
consumer,
Right.
because I know Chris, because I like Chris, I'm gonna come to Chris and Chris say, man, XYZ, my experience, this happened while you was out.
Yeah.
This looking in terms of bringing to your attention. You know what I mean?
And
It's not enough to break the deal for me to say, I'm not dealing with Chris anymore.
Exactly. No, that's quite cool. We have that obviously as well. You know, it's happened a couple of times. And it's funny because you also have some customers you know you can trust because if they come to you, something is definitely serious that needs your attention.
Yeah.
There is also customers that have always complained.
Yeah.
Oh, every time.
It's
Every
always
time.
gonna have those.
And it's always, of course. And it's fine by me. I don't. But I also know I don't pay attention
Yeah,
to this.
yeah.
I used to have this guy. Back when I had the brasserie Max and Julie, he would literally come 2-3 times a week, and he would always have the salmon, and the salmon was never good.
Never.
It drove me crazy.
That's an oxymoron. You buy something that's never good.
And now, and every time, it's, it's overcooked, it's undercooked, it's not the flavors I like, and so on. So every time, and at the beginning, you first time somebody tells you this, and you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, let's go back to the kitchen, check the salmon, make sure it's fine, and so on and so forth. And then the second time he orders it again, it's like, all right, he's giving us another chance. That's cool.
Yeah.
And he complains again. And again, after the third time, you just don't believe this guy anymore. You let it go. You don't even pay attention. And that's exactly what we did.
So I guess the real challenge at that point is how do you say to someone, listen, you don't like what you ordered, you don't come back no more. You just take it on the chin.
You don't.
And you just keep it going.
No, I did tell a few customers throughout my life not to come back. That really was simply because they were absolutely obnoxious, particularly with the staff.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
You can insult me all you want.
Yeah.
The staff is another ballgame.
So Chris, man, listen, I'm having such a great time and having this
It's all mine.
conversation with you.
Turns out to be a lot more fun than I ever thought it would be.
Man, I mean, we gotta do a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 because there's still so much more information. You dropped a lot of information, and I hope that those of you who are listening who aspire to be restaurant owners, that you really have encapsulated a lot of information that you shared in terms of the intricate aspects and the details of the business and how to be successful as a business owner. And I tell you, there's so many businesses that I see, Chris, who they're interested in making money, they're interested in going to the bank, they're interested in food, but they miss the important element of customer service. And I think that is the core of any business civility.
It is.
Customer service. Because one thing I don't like to do, but I'm not going to do, is spend my money while I'm being mistreated. That's not happening.
That's actually why people hate those very large corporations so much, because there's hardly any customer service.
Yes, right.
Because
So
it's really not the problem.
Exactly.
The product is not really sometimes the problem.
Right.
But if you have something and you need to have somebody and talk to somebody, you can.
Yeah, the food is good, but you don't want that one. One last point before we go.
Yes.
I just want to talk about the owner's mindset versus and burnout. So, how do you protect your passion after decades of being in business, 25 years, understanding the transition of from then to now? How do you pivot to keep from being burnt out? Because sometimes people are afraid of change or transformation, right?
Yes.
Because they don't adjust to what's happening around them. You just can't put new wine in old skins.
True. In this industry, there's two ways to look at this. You can either work at it 80, 100 hours a week, right? Or you can just believe in someone else and trust someone else. And then what I've done is I've always looked for a good, strong manager, even if they were young and even if they were not mature enough yet. The reason, my take on this is a restaurant is never any better than its manager, than its owner. It's the manager. Because the manager is the one that's there, that people get to know you know, take a guy like Tillman Fertitta, right? He's got 400 restaurants, wherever it is nowadays. He's not obviously in his restaurant every day, right? But some of his restaurants are quite good. Why? Because he's got good managers. And the ones that are bad, very often you have the manager that doesn't care. So for me, it's been finding the staff that I can trust. And that's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, my friend, for taking time out there with us. Listen, go ahead and for our audience who's viewing, go ahead and listen. I want you to subscribe. I want you to follow. I want you to leave comments. And listen, Chris is about to give you his information. How you can reach out to him. I want to come by and patronize him. Very quaint, very relaxed, beautiful atmosphere, beautiful food, beautiful people, quality service. Go ahead and tell them the name of the restaurant, where you're located, how they can find you, and give you information.
The restaurant is called Cafe Rable. We're in the heart of the Rights Village. We've been here for about 25 years, actually. Altogether, 20 years at this particular location, which is on Times Boulevard. And we just a simple little French bistro with far too much wine for what we are really. But we can find some really inexpensive wine, actually, and good one. Because I don't buy wines if I'm not going to be able to drink.
Give me your address and your contact number, how they can reach you, make reservations.
So, your choice is 2442 Times Boulevard. Phone number is 713-520-8841. Find us on the web, obviously, at www.caferable.com or Instagram. For that matter, we also have that. And my name is Chris. You can call me Chris.
Sir Chris. Sir Chris Paul.
Yeah, exactly. We like that, sir. I wouldn't mind being a sir.
Yeah.
A little bit of lordship there, you know.
Get that number one more time. Get that number and address one more time. Speak slowly and clearly so they can hear you.
So the number is 713-520-8841.
Thank you, man. Listen, thank you. Oh, man, I appreciate you. Enjoying it. Listen, thank you, audience, for following us as well. And in your comments right here at the Business Showcase Zone. Been happy to be with you. I'm your boy, Dr. Paul Matthew, and we'll see you next time. Until then, be blessed.
Hello. Stop scrolling. Your tax refund could be bigger than what you think. Right here at Connect Finances, we don't just do filing, but we help maximize returns. We help business owners, we help W-2 employees, we help gig workers, even if you're self-employed, or even if you're a waitress, work at a barber shop, beauty shop, we can help you also maximize your refund. All you have to do is just hit the button below and you're going to follow that link, connectfinances.com, and you'll get that fast refund just as you deserve it, and you will get it fast. Until then, I talk to you then, and I'll see you at the top. Have a great day. We're here.